Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butts-Chester. You know what I like to do on the show. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want to get you fired up about the discovery of angels. Now, we understand that angels are all around us, but do we truly understand not only their form but their function and how we are able to interact with them and how they can better our lives? Well, I get to talk about that very thing with my guest today, Jeanne Skinner, and her book that she's written is Hummingbirds, Pennies, and Hope. Let me tell you a little bit more about her. She has her Bachelor's of Science from Ohio State University and her Master's of Art degree from the University of Dayton. She taught 8th grade language arts for over 20 years in Southwestern city schools. She started writing towards the end of her teaching career. While writing, she wrote for and directed plays and skits for the drama club. She currently writes and directs for her church's drama group. She discovered angels while going through a divorce and attended a week-long workshop with Doreen Virtue, who has written many, many books on angels and communicating with them. She married again, and together they have 5 children and 11 grandchildren. She has lived in Ohio all of her life and is setting one of the books in Ohio as well. She has a love of gardening, writing, and directing. So you know what I'm about to say. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Jenny. Thank you so much for being on with me today.
It's my pleasure.
I love the title of your book, Hummingbirds, Pennies, and Hope. Now, I have my own imagination as to why you would pick those 3 things, and I think that that is awesome. So if you could, please, can you tell us, why did you choose such a title?
Well, those 2 things, hummingbirds and pennies, were my signs from angels, and I just thought it was so meaningful that it just fit for the title. They were my signs, so that should be the title of the book, because that's what the book's about, is learning to see signs and receiving them.
I love it. I love it. And, you know, it's so interesting that you say that everyone has their signs. We know that there are some universal signs of things of how we should understand it, like feathers and butterflies and all those types of things, and the pennies and all of that. But it is so beautiful how when you open yourself up to it, you also see the signs that are very specific to the person that you're thinking about, to that particular loved one or family member or friend, like maybe a sock, or you start to see a particular flower, or even smell cologne or something like that. It is so beautiful how we're able to have that. But I don't want to jump ahead, so let me kind of slow down and ask the next question for you, and that is this. When you were writing, did you have a particular audience in mind? Did you say, you know, I want for teens to be able to read it as well as adults? Is this for moms? Is this for someone going through on the other side of grief? What was your demographic in your mind?
Well, I was really thinking of young people because I was teaching 8th graders. And then I went to the workshop with Doreen Virtue, and there were people there of all ages. And I thought, you know, all ages like angels, but I wanted my main character to be a teenager because I taught students of many religions, some agnostic, some atheist, but most of them, I'd say 90%, believed in God, and all of them believed in angels, which I thought was fascinating. So I thought, what is one thing that would bring them together? It would be learning that there really are angels, and how do you know? Because you received a sign from them. And my students really needed something. I mean, they go through difficult things continually, particularly where I taught. I was in an urban school district, and, life is not easy. So I was just thinking, if I could give them something to hold on to, it would make a difference. So that was, and we had a discussion about angels one day, and that's how I knew that they did. And I taught 5 classes, so we're talking 120 students. I taught every year. So after 20 years, I guess that's over 2,000 students I had. But, their lives, they just needed something. The literature we were reading was not very uplifting. And we had a meeting of language arts teachers, and we all said, where is the uplifting material? And we really weren't offering it. So I thought, I need to write something. I'm experiencing it. I'm feeling it. I need to share it with these students that I love and care about.
Absolutely. I can understand that train of thought. I love how you say, where's the uplifting stuff? Because that's what we need to give us a sense of hope to continue to keep going. I love it. Now, what is, and I know you can't necessarily tell all of the book. People do need to, pick up a copy and kind of get all of the little bits themselves. But can you share a bit of the storyline with us?
Well, it's really the experiences of a teenage girl who loses her grandmother at the very beginning of the book. And as a result of that, she discovers that her grandmother and her mother had gone to an angel workshop. And as she explores this, she reads her grandmother's journals. She talks with her mother about it for the very first time, and a whole world opens up for her. Well, at the same time, these English teachers, we always assign research projects, and so she decided to choose angels as her research project. Number one, she thought it would be easy, which is a given for a lot of kids. What's easiest? The other, she actually thought it would be unique. Something that might impress and interest her friends, because she had to give an oral presentation. And as she did this and presented it, she changed. Her popularity changed at her school, and she became known as the Angel Girl, which wasn't exactly something she was looking for. So that's really what it's about, and how she discovers things about herself, her friends, her family, as she experiences signs from angels. She heard from her deceased grandmother, so a whole new world opened up to her.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. I like how it sounds like you're kind of hinting at some of the pros and cons of being in school and the way that we interact with other people, and how your own discovery doesn't mean that because it's put you in a different place of enlightenment that other people are going to automatically be enlightened with you. So I like how you touch on that. That's wonderful. Now, so many times when an author chooses to write about stories that are true, they change some bits and pieces, and they decide, I'm only going to make X amount of the book truth and X amount fiction. Did you decide ahead of time how much of your own stories you were going to share, or of those around you, or did you find that you simply, I'm going to write the stories, and we'll see how it turns out?
That's interesting. I never thought about it at all. I just started writing. And as I wrote, I thought, I should tell this story. And then I'd write some more. Oh, I should tell this story. So I would say the stories that were the most significant to me would be the ones that I shared. Because obviously they had meaning. And if they had meaning for me, they would likely have meaning for someone else. And they're all true. Nothing I altered.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I might have altered their names. I didn't use my
of
friend's
course,
name.
right.
Other than that, the experience is authentic.
I love that. If it meant something, if it was special, if it had a particular meaning, that you were able to share that you didn't have to think about it. I love that answer, and it shows kind of an authenticity, but an honesty as well, in that this is what happened. And in sharing your experience, how many more people are able to say, oh my goodness, I had something like that happen to me as well, and I thought I was the only one. So the freedom that may be able to give to someone else, I love that. Now, of your stories that you shared, do you have a particular one that may be your favorite, or one that you enjoyed sharing or writing a little more than another?
Well, I think the one that was the most, let's say, surprising to me was when I was in Miami, Florida, at the workshop, Doreen Virtue, and she had us pair with somebody, and then she led us through an experience. And this experience was, you were to take the person's hand, and then she asked you to try to see their deceased loved ones. Now, I'd never done this in my life, and I thought, you've got to be kidding me. This is absurd. But I did it because I'm there to learn, and I could feel the warmth of the lady across from me, and I calmed down, and I cleared my mind and relaxed, and I saw, in my mind's eye, I had a vision of a minister. He was African American. He had a cleric collar, and he was wearing a cross. And I said that to her, and she laughed, and she said, oh, yeah, that was my father. He was a Baptist minister. So I was just absolutely amazed. I thought, really? So she was very serious, and she said, well, do you see anything else? So I took a deep breath and tried, and I said, well, I see this big white cat. And she laughed, and she said, oh, that's Fluffy. He loved that cat. Now, that was just mind-boggling.
Wow.
I just thought, really? So that was
wow. I love that. I love that. It's so beautiful how we are able to see when we're ready and when we're truly in the mindset to see what is before us. And I give everyone the example, when you decide to purchase a particular car, it doesn't matter. It could be a classic car. It could be something that everyone else thinks is hideous. It's too big, it's too small, what an ugly color, whatever. But once you determine that that's the car you want and you start to pay attention to the cars around you, you see how popular the car actually is and how many other people are driving it. And I think that so many times we forget that our brain is able to do that. When you tell it that you want to see, that you want to experience, that you want to be a part of, that's what you see. The same way that we do that with people. When you want to see the good in people, you see the good. If you only want to see the negative or the stereotypes of people, then that's what you're going to see. And I'm so glad that you shared that, because that means that we are able to see so much more than just with our naked eye. I love it. Well, it is time for us to go to break. But before we do, could you please remind everyone, what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And how do we follow you online or stay in contact with you?
The title is Hummingbirds, Pennies, and Hope. You can go to Amazon.com and find it. You can also go to Balboa Press and find it. And I have a blog. It's JeanneLemmonSkinner.com.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can pick up a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester, but my guest today is Jeanne Skinner, and we're talking about her book, Hummingbirds, Pennies, and Hope. I know, such an awesome title for the book, right? We are talking about discovering angels and how we have angels all around us, and what are some ways that they interact with us and we can interact with them. Well, Jeanne, I wanted to ask, how can teens relate to the main characters? So many times we write for adults, but when you include the teenagers, I think that they appreciate the fact that you've included them. So how can they relate to the main character?
Well, Anna experiences one thing with her new popularity of being called Angel Girl. She experiences that people treat her differently. Some of them find her weird. Her best friend is really kind of jealous of her. I think Maddie, as I'm writing about Maddie, I'm thinking, what is Maddie really thinking about Anna? And a lot of relationships, friendships, we kind of have a dominant person. And Maddie was the dominant person. And now here we've got Anna, who's really as popular as her friend and more so, but also she's different. And we're uncomfortable when people change. We expect them to be the same, act the same, say the same. So she's uncomfortable. So that's one thing. The other thing that Anna experiences, her parents are divorced. And many, many teens go through this. And I have to say one of the most popular complaints I heard about were the step-parents. And frequently, these were girls talking. They were not really thrilled with her stepmothers. So I put that in there because I knew they would relate to it. The other thing is this girl goes to church, and she's afraid she's going to be really considered weird in her church. And she doesn't want anybody to know that in her church, really, that she actually sees angels. She's not sure how she'll be received. So I think all of those things, are things that teenagers can relate to, friends, family, all those things.
In your book, Anna reads angel cards for her friends. So my question to you is, have you ever had that experience? I know that you said that you did the seminar with Doreen. If you have, can you explain what that is for people who aren't familiar with angel cards?
Well, I kind of thought you would ask me that question. Yes, I have, and I used to read people with angel cards all the time. I don't anymore. On occasion, I read people, but I don't use the cards because I don't need them. I can do that pretty well. I get a pretty good sense of them without using cards. But the cards are wonderful. And I need to say, when I first started using them, I was skeptic. I question everything. So as I got them, I used 3 different decks. I asked the same question. I put down 5 cards from each of the 3 decks, and I got the exact same answer. So for me, yes, these cards really indicate something I need to hear. An example of some of the cards, I pulled some in case you would ask. One card says, there's nothing to worry about. Another one says, new partner. Notice the signs. Have confidence. Opportunity to forgive. Now, those are the basic lines, but if you read under it, it gives you more information, more insight to whatever it was you need to hear. So I think the angel cards are wonderful. I think they're very, very helpful. And I know a lot of people who use them, and they might ask me something about them, but mostly, if you just open yourself and read it again and think about it, you know what you're being told.
I have to agree with you with that. It's so funny how so many times we are looking for confirmation. We pray, dear God, let this particular thing happen, give me the wisdom, and we're waiting for confirmation. And someone can overlook 2 or 3 occasions where they've gotten or they received or the confirmation was right in front of them, and our friend walks up and says, isn't that the sign you were looking for? And they go, oh no, not that. It can't possibly be that. So I could see how this is such a beautiful way of saying, this is the confirmation that you've been praying for, and it's right here in front of you. I love it. I think so many times people forget that in Scripture it says, that we should send our angels forth, that we should give them a charge, a command, a something to do. They have a to-do list the same way that we have a to-do list. And we shouldn't keep them just waiting idly by, so to speak, waiting for us to do something when they are ready to get the job done. So thanks for that reminder. Now, what would someone learn perhaps when they're reading your book? It sounds like for someone unfamiliar with angels, that it would be such a beautiful, eye-opening experience. For someone who is already kind of on the path, they're familiar with angels, what would that person learn or be reminded of?
Well, I would say that would probably be just a reaffirmation that you're not alone. Maybe a reminder that you need to ask. They're not just going to come in and swoop in and solve your problem. We were created with free will. So you actually have to ask, and you have to be specific. So sometimes a lot of people say, well, I prayed, but nothing happened. Really? What did you exactly pray for? What did you ask for? Were you specific? I think they need to hear that. What exactly do you want? And the other thing is they're not going to give you the immediate answer. Again, that's part of our learning and growth is discovering things. They're going to give you guidance, and they're going to lead you where you need to go, but you need to be open to it and listening. So if you're on the path, you need to stay on it. I think by reading the stories and the people, that gives you the strength to say, okay, I need to get my act together. I need to get back on the path. I need to pray. I need to ask. And I need to listen and be open to the signs, like you said. It might be right there in front of you, and you just have ignored it.
So true. Now, I want to ask you, I'm the type of person that many times I will pick up a book and just open to a particular page and just read. I know that some books are written that way, where each chapter kind of stands alone, and then there's others where you're supposed to read it from cover to cover. With your book, are we able to just pick up and start at any chapter, at the beginning of any chapter, or should we read it cover to cover?
It really is a story from beginning to end, so I would start, but I have to tell you, I have people say, I keep going back and reading such and such story. So it seems to be, as they find a story that they really like they'll dog-eared the book, the page, and they'll go back. And so I have heard that, they really like the stories, but I like the stories. And, And some of my former students who read it said they really liked Anna, and that was nice. That they liked the main character. For me, when I read, I have to be able to relate and like the person. I have to like him. And so that means a lot.
It's so interesting that you say that it really depends on kind of your mindset for the day sometimes as well. If you have a lot going on, many times you're just calling words, even though I want to sit down and read the book today. And you read it, but you went, I should probably go back and reread that again because I didn't give it my full attention. Or you read something, I've read a passage in a book and gone on about my day, and the next day something happened that made what I read so incredibly relevant in the moment that it was an aha moment. Had I not gotten to that particular portion in the book, perhaps the aha would have just been a yes or but not a aha moment. So I can understand how people can go back and go, you know what? That page number whatever was amazing. Let me go back to that again. I like that. Now, so many times when we're writing, we place a particular message, or a message comes to us while we're writing, and you share a line or a paragraph, and there's so much meat in that paragraph or in that line. I also say, like, in a tweetable moment. So many times you want to share, I just read this passage from the book, and it has just changed the way that I view things. Did you find that you had those takeaway moments as you were writing, or did you want to leave it open enough for each reader to have their own discoverable moments?
I can't really think of any takeaway moment, but I thought each little story would be a takeaway for them. For one, Anna hears her grandmother's voice after her grandmother has passed. Since I've written that, and that experience, I experienced that myself, and so many people have told me that. Oh, I had the same experience, and I thought I was weird. I thought I was making it up. I thought I was dreaming. All the things that we do to ourselves because we can't accept, yeah, you really did. It was a gift. They're really there. They're not that far away. They're just on the other side. They're closer to us than we think. And yes, you really did hear the voice. So if that would be a takeaway for sure. Maybe a sign that they saw. Some people, will share to me, I saw, after reading your book, I saw such and such. Is that a sign? Well, did you think of it as a sign? Is really the best question. How did you react to it? Well, I thought it was. Well, of course it was then. I think it's kind of, the takeaway is believe that you are hearing things and seeing things. You're not crazy. You're not crazy.
I love that answer. If you were able to understand it as a sign, then it was a sign. You're not crazy. I love that. Because we can't tell someone else that necessarily was a sign if they weren't able to see it. I love it. Thank you so much for giving that answer. We are almost out of time. I can't believe it. But I wanted to ask you about any other writings, or if there are any new books in the future. Have you written anything, or are you planning on writing anything other than Hummingbirds, Pennies, and Hope?
I'm working on a novel right now. It's almost finished. It's called The Anointed One, and I should have it finished within the next couple weeks. So I'm excited about it. So we'll see where that goes.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, of course, the best of luck in your future writings, and we'd love to have you back on. So please remember us when you publish your new book. So one last time, if you would please, can you remind everyone what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And how do we stay in contact with you? How do we follow you online?
The title is Hummingbirds, Pennies, and Hope. You can find it on Amazon.com. You can also go to Balboa Press. And I'm on Facebook, and so there's a page, Hummingbirds, Pennies, and Hope page on Facebook. And I have a blog, JeanneLemmonSkinner.com.
I love it. Jeanne, thank you so much for being on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela today.
Thank you.
And listeners, thank you as well. I hope that we have enlightened, inspired, and empowered you today. As always, may the Lord continue to shine His face upon you. May you receive His grace and His mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Bye-bye.